Future Now Show. Brought to you by the Club of Amsterdam.
Hello to everybody and a great 2017. I'm Annegien Blokpoel. I'm the director of PerspeXo. We are a strategy firm based in the Netherlands. Well, I think 2016 was a special year because I think we start to see a number of changes that were already in the air, but they are starting to materialize. On a personal basis, I sold the growth program of companies. So I think that's a big achievement for me personally, after having set it up 8 years ago and then being able to transfer it with the consultants and seeing a new company come out of the ground. I think that's very nice. So I'm quite proud and happy that it went that way. If I look at the Netherlands, I see that we have a fastly growing startup scene, and that the startup companies are becoming more grown-up companies. So I think we are achieving from an idea 5-6 years ago, then setting up centers. And if now I look at the number of companies that are actually getting off the ground and are moving abroad, that's quite an achievement. If I look at the world, it's more difficult because I think we're actually still in the middle of a number of things. And I do think it's a great achievement that we managed to stop the flow of refugees coming from the Middle East and Africa coming to Europe. Because I think if we do not keep a healthy society, it will be very difficult to absorb even more refugees. So I think it was a great achievement that we managed to stop that process. But that also brings me to the challenges of 2016-17. So if I look at the challenges of 2017, we need to stop the war in Syria. We need to find a solution for the world in movement. And what I mean by that is that we have far less fertile ground. The climate change is a big challenge, and it's changing all over the planet in different ways. In Indonesia, the rain season is now a continuation almost. I was told that in Bali, for 5 years now, they only have 2 months of dry season instead of the normal 6 months. Large portions in the US are completely dry. We actually have much more heavy rains in Europe, so we get more floods. And large portions of Africa are drying out. And at the same time, we have a growing population. So if we do not find a solution for the climate change, and if we cannot stop the poverty arising in third world countries, I'm afraid the wars will continue, and the number of people running away from locations where they don't have food or are in an unsafe situation will continue. So that's the main challenges that we have as mankind to stop these processes. I think actually the Netherlands has excellent knowledge on water management, both on flood management. Half of the country would be flooded if we would not build the great dikes and the great systems that we have, water management systems. But also I think we can actually help with water management, treatment of water and of waste. Because what we also see is that people continue to go into cities. So large populations create much more waste, and you can't dump it everywhere. Now, this is something in the Netherlands we've never been able to do it, because when you dig a hole in the ground, after 30 centimeters, you will run into water. So we are actually quite experienced in managing also waste. So I think there the Netherlands could really help. And I also think in a social way in how to be able to share. And I think that might actually be more a European thing in general, that we are much better in sharing than some of the Americans that are very good in conquering worlds and then protecting it, whereas Europe is much better in actually sharing for the benefit of all. So I think that's maybe where not only the Netherlands but also Europe can play a role in how to share good ideas and work more as a cooperative than as a colonist, monopolistic way of thinking. People hate changes, that's one. And secondly, a lot of people are left out. And if we don't solve that problem, that is actually an internal problem, how to make everybody prof with the new developments, because we are gaining a lot in health, in actually knowing how our brains work and how we can influence ourselves to be more happy. I think that type of knowledge should be shared more wide. That's one. And secondly, economically, we also have to look at what type of a society would we like to be. And the old parties at the moment don't really have solutions. So it's something we see in all the European countries. And I don't think only in Europe, it's also happening in a very big country across the ocean, where the people that are left behind don't have an answer what would be the right way, but do want to give a protest vote. And what I see happening is that the protest voters are stronger than the diversified people with an opinion. Yeah, the question is, what is a democracy? And there's different concepts. You could say in a democracy, also the minorities will be heard and will be listened to. You can also say the democracy is where the majority dictates what will be done. You can also say, well, maybe life is not that easy anymore, because on the traditional lines of social, right-wing, left-wing, green parties, it doesn't work like that anymore. I think we have large cities where people share more or less the same problems, and we have roughly about the same population in rural areas where there is a completely different mindset, but also different challenges. And we are trying to combine all of that. So the question is, how can we take decisions that are good for the local society and at the same time also benefit society at large? And maybe we need completely new solutions for that. It's interesting. I'm reading a book at the moment by a Moroccan great philosopher from the 15th century. And he's already talking about the eternal struggle between the city and the rural areas. Because at the time, Morocco had cities of 500,000 and 1 million inhabitants, when we in Europe had cities of maybe 10,000 people. So the interesting thing is that this is apparently something that has always been a struggle. And maybe we can learn something from this Moroccan philosopher and strategy person from the 15th century. But actually, I think one of the achievements for 2016 was that I found a way whereby with yoga and meditation, I can now have a much better balance between actually the rational thinking part, which is very much oriented to strategy, finance, building companies, and the wisdom of the body, and a much more open-minded way of looking at the world. And so my challenge for 2017 is to integrate it even more, but also to bring that in my way of how I coach and help companies and company directors in dealing with leadership issues. So we can build also companies for the future in different ways, based also on different values in a way. I'm looking forward to meet with like-minded people in 2017, and I think we have lots of opportunities for mankind to grow in the next couple of years. So I'm looking forward to meet with those people that also want to shape a positive future at the Club of Amsterdam or internationally. Thank you very much.